Ah, look at that one. Oh, we're back. And we're throwing chairs at Ascendant, yes, from Hapa Games, which I recently found out is a derogatory term, meaning half a Japanese person, or half Japanese, half white. So there you go. It's a Unity game. You can pick it up for $9.99. It's on sale until however long. You can check the Steam page. Well, until May 22nd. So yeah, by the time this show comes out, it'll probably be off.
What's it about?
Sale. But it is an unforgiving beat 'em up that challenges you with a new world each time you play. It utilizes a number of modern roguelike elements such as permadeath and procedurally generated environments.
Finish your drink.
And you can find this at hoppagames.com. Make with the chair explanation. So if you haven't been watching our crazy review system, here's a quick primer of what's going on. 1 chair score means that it's complete shit. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. And 4 chairs means shut up, take my money. I can't stop throwing my wallet at you. And of course, we have our categories: Odoo, mixed working, shiny sounds, control, and fun. And we do some crazy mathematically averagey whatchamacallits. And we come up with a final score that we deliver to you, lovely people, to tell you whether or not to buy this game for Linux.
But we're testing it out on multiple systems and all that, right?
Yep.
No, we're all using MacBooks here.
Oh, right. That's brilliant.
Fair enough.
But mixed with the working, then how did this thing run?
I threw this on one of our systems, and that system happened to be our render box in Ubuntu 1204 LTS, dual 770 powered system of business. Nothing to report wrong. Normally, as has been going on, when I see a Unity game, I'm like, yeah, right, that's either going to run good or it's going to make the damn thing vibrate. This one ran good. No issues with it. Didn't have problems with controls or anything like that, but we'll get into that business later. So I can say on anything like that, 32-bit derivatives, Ubuntu, running the proprietary NVIDIA drivers, you can probably be safe and assured you're going to get a 4 chair out of me. J-Man.
So I gave this the business on the AMD A10 5800K Steam box I have sitting in the living room, and this AMD 1090T powered 670 superclock powered Fedora 20 box. Actually, they're both Fedora 20 64-bit. No issues with any of them on the TwinView multi-monitor setup on the NVIDIA. Nothing on the big TV. No issues. So I'm going to give that 4 chairs.
So I guess I was the only one who had issues. Actually, on my old desktop, 10-year-old desktop PC with an NVIDIA 7600, it didn't seem to do anything special. It adjusted the resolution properly, and it worked. No problems there. But on my laptop, with a 5650 HD AMD graphics chip, on Corora 20 32-bit, it forced my external monitor into 1080p, and I usually keep that at 1440 by 900 because at 1080p it has some serious refresh rate issues, and as soon as I start the game, 1080p, everything's blurry, and I'm like, fuck this game. I thought that maybe at this point the Unity guys would have fixed this shit, but I guess not. 3 chairs for me.
All right, so Pedro throws a monkey wrench in our finely old machine, brings it down to 3 chairs for Mix with the Working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. Then, did this tickle your eyes and ear, pussies?
Eyes and ear pussies aside, let's take a bit of a look at the video. And the first thing I'm looking at this, when it first showed up in my eye organs, I was like, this reminds me, animation style, a lot of And Yet It Moves, with the play characteristics of Dust and Elysian Tale on a budget. The sounds are there, kind of meh on that as far as when it comes to interesting, and maybe they were going for something with the graphical style. Maybe they were. And maybe that train left out of Noteville and screeched it in Mach 9 over my head. Because I didn't get it. I was like, yeah, all right. It's very cardboardy cutout. And especially with the enemies, I was like, yeah, all right. And the fucking little, I guess they're supposed to be bees. I don't know.
I thought they were like airplanes.
Man,
Mosquitoes.
if you read Chariots of the Gods, they were space machines. So, and the sounds, put on some Slayer, didn't really care about the sounds. Ran decent enough. Didn't have any issues with, like, slow down. I think, oh, wait, I take that back, because I was lying. I got an achievement, right? We're running on a dual 770 octo-core box of business. Got an achievement. It dropped the frame rate down to about 10 frames a second until that Steam overlay disappeared. So, for all that, I mean, I wasn't impressed by the style of it. Then again, I might not be getting it, but on top of, like, every time you unlock something, you're like, fuck all, I hope I'm not doing anything important, because... And this is running the latest NVIDIA drivers with the beta one, so you take that for what it's will. I'm going to have to give this 2 chairs, which is kind of a meh. Not necessarily bad, but J-Man...
more dismissive than anything. Yeah, I basically have to agree with Olive and stuff. I didn't have any of the Steam overlay issues, but yeah, the cardboard cutout type animations don't really mesh all that well. It's very clumsily animated. Could have definitely used maybe another couple months.
It's weird with a high action game like that.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird with a high action game.
Yeah, it really is. You expect there to be a lot more ebb and flow with the movement. The soundtrack is entirely forgettable. If you asked me what was playing while this game was going on, I honestly couldn't tell you. And I played this for like, what, an hour? Actually, I played this for an hour before we started recording. And yeah, I honestly don't remember what the hell was going on with the music. Yeah, visually, I can see what they were going with the art style, but certainly needs some more work on the animation. So it's not stab my eyes out terrible, but it's not deserving of 3 chairs, so it gets the 2.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. I don't hate the either the audio or the visual assets of the game. Visually, it's very reminiscent of a Guacamelee, for instance. It has some post-processing put into it, which puts it more into the dust camp than actual Guacamelee. But if you just look at the color palette, yeah.
English.
Take a shot.
The color palette.
Oh, actually, you know what? Take another shot.
It's it's very similar to Guacamelee, and the music can be a bit repetitive at times, but I'll give it the fact that for the most part it works for what it is. I don't hate it. The sound effects, on the other hand, oh my god, what the hell? Seriously, hitting enemies feels piss weak. If you're used to something like Dust or even Guacamelee, when you hit an enemy, the screen would shake and it would do those... Sometimes it's just those teeny tiny effects that make all the difference, but it would feel like there was actually some meat to the combat, that it was actually some force behind each punch and each kick. Here, that's not the case. So for me, 2 chairs.
2 chairs for shining sounds. And now Control. Then, did you feel like you're in control while you were ascending to higher planes of existence?
Well, I'm not in a deprivation tank just yet. I'm saving that for the home. Controls. Here's the thing. Use the Xbox, X-Clone, whatever you want to call it. Might as well be an Xbox controller because I got suspicions about its origin. They work, but when I say they work in the sense that, yes, you can move left, right, up, down, all that, jump and all that. But then you get to this thing I like to call dodging or blocking. Nope. I mean, J-Man will expand on this, but even in the tutorial, good on you guys for including a tutorial, because I was like, what the hell, am I doing something wrong? I mean, I'm just genuinely thinking that it was do I have a delay in the USB cable into my computer's USB organ? But nay, I didn't. It persisted throughout the game. I put a serious amount of time in this business. It's kind of money. Especially when you get into more things where you have to like meditate or whatnot, they call it, and you float around and you're trying to shoot things and all that. Then somebody's like, oh, fuck you, here comes something. And it's like, instant death. Then you run into that first boss, which is just there it's there to kill you. Period. That's why you get an achievement. I was like, this is going to happen a lot. Which makes me think maybe they threw a little bit of extra fuck you hard, which is not bad if it didn't have fuck you controls. So, for that, I mean, it does work. Can't give it one jam. It did work with the X-Clone 360 controller, so we're going to give it a 2, J-Man.
So, I found the controls to be relatively tight. One thing I noticed, very reminiscent of Powerpuff Girls Defender of Townsville. If you want to dash, it's a different bumper button for each dash, which really upsets me because I'm used to just facing a direction, hitting a dash button, and going in that direction. That makes a reasonable amount of sense, does it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's how dashing has worked for millions of years and seems to work fine. I don't know why you feel the need to mess with the formula. But yes, blocking. Blocking is more of a suggestion than an actual command. To the best of my knowledge, you need to block it just as it hits your hitbox. Otherwise, it does not count as a hit and you take the damage. Which, actually, I was, whilst fighting the Maw, I was able to get him down to about half health just by blocking, because I was on a lucky streak. And then I tried to block it again, and I died. Yeah, there's also some other issues. You find that you can infinitely air juggle people and like literally fly to the top of the map just by holding up and mashing Y while you're fighting an enemy. Maybe they should have had some limits on there.
Well, Dust did the same thing.
Dust had a limit, and you had to like fly around and shit too. And Dust also like had some sort of particle effect to sort of indicate that you're under the crazy power of the sword or whatever. This, not so much. It's just like, whoop, and you finally
you
get to
are
the
a
top.
demigod, supposedly.
You are a demigod. Hear me, children of Cain. The controls are not horrible. They certainly have some issues. Would like to see them fixed. I was going to give it 3 chairs, but now that I think about it, I'm going to give it 2. Hail Satan!
Hail Satan.
All right, P-Man.
And for me, there's one gripe I have with video games. The one gripe I've always had with video games, and it's that I don't have 2 symmetrical hands. I'm left-handed because, I got fingers on my left hand. And when a game does not allow me to rebind controls, it's usually not looking at a good chair score. And, okay, maybe I'll give it a pass if it allows or it has a sensible controller layout. I got my PS2 DualShock 2 here. If you have a controller that's not an Xbox controller, the games simply refuses to properly detect your controller. The key layout is all over the place. And in the day and age where SDL2 is actually a thing, and you can easily implement it for free, you don't have to pay anything for it, it's doing it wrong on purpose. And I guess I should count myself lucky because most of the people I know that played this game on Windows, they couldn't even get their controllers to work. So the fact that mine even sort of remotely worked is I should count myself lucky. Unfortunately, this game does not share some of my luck because it only gets 1 chair for controls.
Uh-oh. Well, that's a revised score of 1 chair for the control segment. That's not good. Way to tip the average, Pedro. But yes, our last subjective category, and to remind you, we are 3 different people on 3 very radically different sets of hardware, running 3 different distributions, really 2, because Corora doesn't count. So, this is our subjective
32-bit,
category.
it's different from 64-bit.
Mixed with the fun. Now we're going to be talking about fun. Now, we picked this up. Now, definitely got to scream at the guys because I was in the process of sending everyone keys for this, with a meager little budget that we actually have hidey holed away. And after I sent P-Man a key, I bought a key, I was getting ready to send J-Man a key. P-Man writes back, and I was like, oh, of course, they sent us 3 keys for it.
About 10 minutes after you sent me the key.
Right. I was like, my first thought, I was like, Guacamelee does something fancy art style. Yeah, it's going to be kind of fun. Can't say it was. I hate this because, I've read the backstories. It's like the first game and all that. And this business kind of kills me. The animation is just jarring. It's not original. And it's, as I, first thought, I was like, oh, this is dust on a budget. Somebody looked at that game and said, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Being a Unity game, with the frame drops, with the control issues, I mean, seriously, the blocking thing is just completely fucked. I mean, anyone outside of a 9-year-old who has YOLO swag, sitting there chilling out for 13 fucking hours a day, is going to get that perfectly down, because I sit there. And yes, I'm old man Vin, but come on. Seriously, you hit a button, it should block, but the pixel space, she's like, oh, you're dead. Oh, you're dead. And that's brilliant, and I don't mind the idea of fuck you hard, but when you include busted controls, not really busted, just a bit shit. I'm not going to give it a 1, because I kind of had fun playing it. I like the idea with the mini-maps and all that, and you kind of keep track of what you're doing. Didn't give fuck all about the story, if there was one. Not really sure, because it didn't entertain me enough. But that's enough to give it. I'll give it a 2. I'll definitely give it a 2, not a 1, because there's something to it. Maybe it can be improved upon. J-Man?
Yeah, really, my main problem with this game is that there are actually a lot of good ideas in place. They're just implemented very, very poorly. And maybe this was a bit above the developer's head. Maybe this is the first real game they made.
It is.
Didn't really think about. Yeah, it is. So.
Yeah, it is, and they even have.
So
I
don't want to fault them too much, but ultimately this game suffers from being very forgettable. The soundtrack, I can't even remember what the hell it is. I have trouble recalling the graphics because they're so bland and they're just so blocky and cardboard. And yes, oh my god, the blocking. For a game that pretty much requires you to play defensively, you need to properly implement a blocking system, otherwise you're just gonna die again and again and
it's
again.
It's like everything's easy except for blocking, then it's like, oh.
Yeah, everything is very easy. Like the enemies go down faster than a 2-cent Vietnamese prostitute.
Racist.
Yeah, it's I kind of want to like this game. The developers are coming from a very good place, and I think if they keep at it, they would be able to make some very good games in the future. So keep at it, devs. I don't absolutely hate this game. I had to put it down after a while just because it was getting a bit too monotonous. But I'll give it 2 chairs because it's not god awful.
Yeah, here's the thing. If I have to spend most of my time doing mental exercises to remind myself of what the key bindings are, because for some reason on my PS2 DualShock controller, usually the cross is to jump. That's the staple. That's how it's been for years. In this game, the triangle is the jump button. The cross is the regular attack. The circle is the block key, and square is the one to launch the enemies. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. You have games like, give you an example of roguelite games. You've got Rogue Legacy. You've got, even, it's not exactly a roguelite, but it's a Metroidvania type game like Dust.
Dungeons of Dreadmore.
Those have sensible layouts. They make sense.
Hey,
They're
man,
based on
why would you need to change your layouts again? I keep forgetting.
because, you know, there's kind of a limitation of
Now
where
stick it in
this
your
particular
mouth.
hand stretches.
Stick it in your mouth
So-
again.
So just imagine shooting spells in this game. For me, I'd have to hold down the right analog stick, put it all the way down, and then push the cross button. Now, I dare any of the devs to try and play a game like this. No, I'm sorry. For me, it gets one chair for the fun because I had none. I like roguelite games. I like roguelikes. This was a bad one. I'm sorry.
All right, and with Pedro tipping the scales downwards, it gets a big one chair for fun. And if we tally up all our scores, looks like Pedro's negativity has weighed Ascent down to a one chair game. But I'm going to throw an asteroid at the end of it, just because this is their first attempt. They certainly have some good design ideas. They just need to improve.
Yeah, it was their first game, but they also ran a Kickstarter, which was successful. So you'd think that maybe perhaps those $11,000 they got out of their Kickstarter would have been enough to polish the game.
Well, you know,
Maybe.
actually, when you bring that up, I didn't know it was only funded at 11,000 wet stinky cashes. That's extremely low.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
They said they only needed to finish the game.
No, it was for 11,000. That's a decent game for 11,000. I'll
Yeah.
give it that for what it is. And again, you know, we kind of already bought it, and they was like, there's some free keys. And I was like, we'll probably do a contest or something with those. And which we will. We'll give everyone a chance to experience this. It's not horrible. You're not going to hate yourself at the end of the day playing this game. You're not going to find yourself in a shower crying like you normally do.
Singing Celine Dion.
Actually, I like to sing the Star Spangled Banner backwards. It's kind of my thing. A lot of mayonnaise, and sometimes Airwolf shows up. But yeah, with the controller support, especially with that blocking, it was just like the one key thing that I almost forgot about until J-Man, you know, threw that back in my brain pussy. And just, yeah, that sucks. Sometimes that will get you killed to death. J-Man, should we buy it? Should we not buy it?
I would say if this goes on sale for like $2, buy it to support the devs. They clearly put some work into it.
There's some love in this game.
And this is their first game. I think they're coming from a good place. They have some good ideas. They just need practice.
A lot of practice. And for the love of... start using SDL. Cut the shit. Unity's controller detection has always been shit. SDL, it's free. Come on.